is yet another thing that all of us must strengthen. Because when we strengthen that, the small and marginal farmers collectively will have a great opportunity to be able to be equal market players in the ecosystem. Right? So if I stand back and say, therefore, what is it that we need to do? I see that for us, and for us who are enablers of this ecosystem, I see three important factors. One is to create an agri-data stack. And we've seen what has happened to the payment stack. UPI and payment stack just completely transformed. See, the center is already talking about a health stack, which is again a wonderful thing. And already there is beginning of discussions on agri-stack. And agri-stack again will have to have people coming in from the center, from the state, from the startup community, from all of us, from educational institutions and so on. So there is an extremely important contributor to innovation ecosystem will be an agri-stack database. And it will obviously have all the issues of protocol, who can have it. But by now I think India has got that understood. Thanks to UPI and all the things they have done there, we understand how to use these public, data basis and for both societal goods and so on. The second thing we have to do is to ensure that our government policies actually encourage the adoption of innovation. Many of our agriculture policies, and so if you are going to provide anything to farmers, in each circle you need to go and take approval in many states. That's just ridiculous, right? Given the digital world today, if I do something and get an approval in Bihar, can I use that same thing in Telangana? Or if I get in Telangana, can I use it in UP or Gujarat or wherever it is? How much can we do in terms of, by the way, we do it in medicine. There is no state-wise approval of medicine, but we somehow want it in terms of agri-inputs. So how can we do, how can we look and simplify agricultural policies to improve? And third, of course, as I said, is to facilitate the outreach of proven agri-techs to small and marginal farmers for their benefits. And I underline the word proven, and I'll come to it. Okay. So, therefore, we at RICH, anyway, our principal job is to co-develop these ecosystems with others. So, for example, in agriculture, we work with AgHub here, ICRISAT, IIMR, NIN, and so many other research institutions. In life sciences, we work with IKP, CCMB, IICT, etc. In sustainability, we work with IIT Hyderabad, IICT again, and many others. So, what we have seen is that when we all start working together, miracles happen. Okay? So some of the things that are already happening and which I hope we will take even further and do more. I'll just give you 4 or 5 examples just to give you what happens when you do it. So, startups, and startups make claims. Genuine claims, but they make claim. And especially in agriculture, what we find is if a startup comes from the technology side, half the times it doesn't really understand agriculture. Right? So how do we validate those claims? So here again in AgHub, WEF and AgHub together have started the sandbox, the agriculture validation sandbox, where we ensure that under controlled circumstances, we actually validate the claims that the startup is making. Because after all, we don't want, as a country and even as morally responsible citizens, we definitely do not want us to be supporting startups which are not delivering or not doing the right things. So that's one big thing that is happening. The second, as I already mentioned, regulations and policy. So once again, we are, and we will include many of the partners here, working with the state government to create policy sandboxes. So if a new policy needs to be introduced, it will be introduced in that limited area in the district or a part of district. We will see how it works. If it works well, then you expand it to a larger area and then across the state and so on. The third, and again I've mentioned, is co-creating the agri-stack. And again, we are working with a number of national research institutions, national data institutions. So, National Remote Sensing Center here, the Mahalanobis Center for Agri-crop forecasting and so on and so forth, and the Agri-collaboratory, in order to commonly create a digital public good. That means data which can be used by everyone, just like the UPI is doing. The fourth thing, and again, so Ms. Chintala mentioned this, we somehow arrogantly think that we are the keepers of knowledge. Our traditional practices in many cases are brilliantly climate resistant. So together with UNDP, we documented 25 climate resilient practices, and Athira sitting there was the lead person who did it, which we have now documented properly and which are now available for scientists to check. So this is actually from the ground practice which, hey guys, do you know that we do it this way? And that sometimes goes counter to what we thought were rational policies. So there are a lot of things that need to be, we need to have this cross-fertilization of knowledge from the field to the science and from science to the field. And finally, of course, making market connect. So between all of us, we are able to obviously ensure that there are many opportunities like this which we have, which will be the new, given that the market will change, climate will change, new ideas will come, new technologies will emerge, there will continuously be a need for finding those new pathways. And the only thing we can do now is to create strong collaborative networks of all of us, so that together, whenever a problem comes, we can. And we saw that happen in COVID to some extent. When COVID happened, an immediate, instantaneous collaboration of industry, governments, etc. started. How can we perpetuate those? How can we ensure that we don't have to wait for a COVID? How can we make sure that much before it comes, we are ready to do it? So that is going to be a real challenge and opportunity for us as a sector. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such a pleasure to hear you. Just wait for a few minutes. Yeah. So, yes. So it was such a pleasure to hear you drill down from the umbrella of the startup ecosystem, get it down to specifics in agri, the challenges that we're having right now, and how collaborator networks like probably one of these ecosystem get it down. So much for sharing your knowledge bites, and I'm hoping that all the youngsters sitting here, the startups and ecosystem enablers, are able to take this forward and support you in some way. Thank you so much, sir. So after that wonderful talk to start off the theme one, we now have Dr. Dipanwita. She is the chairman and the CEO of IKP Knowledge Park, and she's developed the first life science research park in India in Hyderabad, and she's pioneering a hardware product incubator and makerspace IKP Aiden in Bangalore, and she works with Indian and global partners to nurture and fund over 700 innovation projects and early startups. Such a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. You've been my favorite for a really long time, along with Dr. Kalpana, of course. And she's actually always been an woman achiever for me, and she has also got this recognition in 2017 by Asia One Business magazine, and Woman of the Decade in Life Sciences, well deserved. And after brief stints as an engineer, innovation and getting innovation to the market, brief stints as an engineer, innovation and getting innovation to the market, Sikkim. So over to you. Thank you for Life Sciences and Agri for Technology basket. Over to you.
This is me, Nikki.